Thank you all for being here, and we'll start off with Sarah Adams.
Thank you. So I thought I would also do a little bit of an introduction to today, just so you can kind of know what to expect. I'm Sarah Adams, and this is Crystal. We are working on becoming certified in advanced training on entomology. And so we went to class, and we did that. Basically, entomology, I think we would both agree, we found it overwhelming. I'm in vegetable gardens all the time. I feel very comfortable talking about that, whereas entomology, it's to learn. And so I'm not on a firm foundation as I am with like vegetables. And so the first thing I kind of want to talk about is entomologists, actual entomologists, and I'm sure you know this, but they have degrees in entomology and biology. They're incredibly diverse, and they include everything from beautiful butterflies and unique beetles to disgusting roaches. And I do not love disgusting bugs. In vastly different environments. That's what's pretty interesting about insects, is the way they've been able to evolve and survive in just every environment on Earth, basically. There's over 12 different orders of insects. I thought I was going to go more into the classification of insects, but I've decided not to. Basically, that translates to there are millions of insects in the world. And we're not entomologists. We completed 32 hours of training. We were given many books and other research materials. We understand basic principles. We understand sort of what we think we're going to have in our area from master gardeners. Master naturalists also took this course, but our focus is clearly on gardening. That's why we care about entomology. So there are some insects that you might ask us about. If they don't really pertain to our gardens around here, our yards, our trees, we would have to do a little more research to figure that out. However, we did learn how to collect useful information. So if you were to come to me and say, hey, Sarah, I've got a problem in my garden, this is what it looks like, I can say, well, hey, if you can collect these things for us, I can tell you how to photograph things a little bit better. I can tell you what we're looking for, what the plant, are we looking for roots? Are we looking for stems? What are we looking for? So that you can collect that information for us. And then we were introduced to the right people. So there were PhDs, there were extension agents, there were all kinds of folks in our 32 hours of training that we can now ask and say, hey, look, this is what we've collected. Can you help us figure out what this is? If you bring us an insect, like the whole thing, in a collection vial, we might be able to get pretty close to figuring out what it is. Even the entomologists told us sometimes they can't figure it out until they dissect them or they put them under these massive microscopes we don't have. But for our purposes, when we're talking about gardens, we can probably get you relatively close. And then, like I said, we can guide you to collecting helpful information. We can give you tips on how to photograph them. There's an app called iNaturalist app, and I hadn't heard of that until I took this class. I liked it. They're called citizen scientist resources, and basically what they're trying to do is get people in the community, people like us, who are interested in these things, to provide reliable information to increase databases, to increase things, and you can be a part of certain studies. So if you want to just monitor butterflies, for example, then you can be a part of that study and record what you see, download it or upload it, whatever you do, to an app, and then be a part of those observations. I liked iNaturalist. It's got a long way to go. I mean, a lot of these things, because there are people like us using them, not everything in there is perfectly accurate. You obviously have to log in order to get more specific data. You give up, your geotagging, so they're going to know where you're at. So there's some trade-offs. It's not for everybody. And then we can help you, and that's a big part of today, is identifying beneficial bugs versus pests. Most bugs are not pests. Most bugs are fine. We can live with them without any trouble. It's the few bugs that are in our gardens nonstop that we get aggravated with. So today there's quite a bit in here, but we tried to talk about integrated pest management. So basically, we were just talking about this. There's a lady in Lowe's, she's got grasshoppers. What does she want? She wants to try to get the grasshoppers out so that her garden will survive. She asked the guy from Lowe's, and he's like, well, the poison aisle is over there. Well, we don't love that, right? There's no I only kill grasshoppers and don't hurt anything else spray. And so with integrated pest management, hoping to do, it's a little more work day to day, but what we're hoping to do is to minimize those pests before they ever become a problem. Something we've been working on, I just wanted to share this with you. Our website is Big Country Master Gardener, so bcmgtexas.org, and on that you can click on gardening articles, and we have to get a certain number of hours in order to be certified. So one of the ways I'm getting my hours, and Crystal I think is going to do this as well, is we're doing bugs of the month. And so these are the bug of the month that we've done so far. So you can go over there and you can look at them. And they're just about 2-3 pages. They'll just talk about what it is. I think we have some pictures of squash bugs on there. Let's see. And I'm taking suggestions. So if there's a bug you're really interested in, tell me about it. I'll write an article on it. And then let's see. Oh, and they also get posted on our Facebook page. So if you haven't liked our Facebook page, you should. It's a pretty cool resource. You can post things up there. That's a place you could post a picture and say, hey, what's this bug? What's it doing? How come, should I be scared of it? That kind of a thing. So what we're going to try to do today is session 1, and the first step in integrated pest management is monitoring and identification. And then we're going to do some cultural controls. And then session 3 is sort of a catch-all. It's whatever you guys have questions for. We're going to talk a little bit, if we have time, about red fire ants. I find those the most challenging. Diatomaceous earth, insecticidal sprays. Do you really need a poison? And then we have a little thing on beneficial bugs. So, does that sound okay? Okay. So I will get started on, I don't know. Okay. Did that work? Hey. Okay. So this is kind of the first session, so that's why our agenda is just a little bit off. I think we'll probably be done somewhere between 9:45 and 10, but if you need to use the facilities, just go ahead. And I think there's out here in the hallway. So the first thing we're going to talk about are insect life cycles. And there's 2 kinds of insect life cycles, the incomplete life cycle and the complete life cycle. The incomplete life cycle has basically 3 stages. There's an egg, and they hatch into nymphs, and then nymphs can go through several stages. So you'll see here, this little picture has these N-stars. N-star 1, N-star 2. These are all nymph stages. They're just growing. And then they turn into adults. The nymphs don't have wings, or if they have wings, they can't fly. So they're kind of ground bound. And then adults have fully developed wings. They can fly great distances. So they're obviously harder to control because they're much more mobile. Nymphs just really look like little adults. They have a little bit of a different coloring, or a different, the antenna might be a little bit different, but they really just, if you look at it, you can get pretty close to knowing what that bug's going to be just based on its coloring and its size. Complete animals are completely different, as we all know. So they have eggs. They can lay them in single eggs. They can lay them in groups. Larvae, so in this case, this is a butterfly, so it'll be a caterpillar. They move about freely on the plants. They can't fly, but they're hungry. And that's when they're really going to eat your plants. Pupa, after reaching maturity, they pupate, and then they develop into adults. And the adults are really what we expect the insect to look like. It's harder to look at a caterpillar and know what it's going to be, but when a butterfly comes, you can tell if that's a monarch butterfly or not a monarch butterfly. And so They're just very, I just find this fascinating. I mean, I think, well, anyway. So different life cycles, an incomplete life cycle. So it's going to just have those 3 stages. You're looking at dragonflies, aphids, grasshoppers, squash bugs, assassin bugs, complete butterflies, moths, ladybugs, beetles, and flies. And so these are important distinctions to know so that when you look at an insect, when you're trying to identify what it will help you figure out, what category to put it in. So insect mouth parts, there's primarily 2 that gardeners are going to care about. The chewing insects, most of the chewing insects have complete life cycles. So what does that tell us? That tells us that if you're seeing a bunch of flying moths, for example, the damage has probably been done. They're no longer caterpillars eating your plants. They've pupated and now they're flying away. So if you see those moths, there's no sense in trying, to kill off the cat. They're done. That life stage has been complete and they've moved on.
What is I'm going to make a wild statement here. I assume that during like a moth or a butterfly, that's when they're laying eggs.
When they're adults, but they're probably not laying them in your flowers.
Where are they laying them?
I don't know. Like mason bees, there's houses that the bees will go into and lay their eggs. I assume the butterflies and the moths are doing the same thing. Chewing insects damage foliage, stem. Do you know where butterflies lay eggs? Yeah. They're going to damage the foliage, the stems, the fruit. They'll become, you've seen them. If you've ever seen like a caterpillar on a dill plant, they can eat that thing to the ground. So you have to make a decision. Are you okay with that being a food source? Or do you want to get rid of that plant or that insect to have the dill plant? And then others do just march in. There's some lawn insects that just kind of come in. I think army worms maybe, and they leave. Sucking insects include aphids, stink bugs, squash bugs, leaf hoppers. They have an incomplete life cycle typically. And so after they hatch, they begin to feed and move around on the plant. They're attracted to the most succulent part of the plant, the newest part of the plant. They're aphids. We've all seen aphids. They just infest that bud area typically, and you've got to catch them quick. They damage the plants by reducing the vigor and injecting toxins and other poisons into those plants. So here's kind of the mouth parts. You can see that on the grasshopper, it's more of a chewing mouth part. It's got little body parts that help it, get things into its mouth, whereas the sucking mouth part, it, releases your body parts to suck out the sap and things like that in the flower. So why do we care? Why do we care about what kind of life cycle and what kind of mouth parts? Well, because if you see this worm eating your plants, like I said, you've got a decision to make. It can destroy your plants. So what do you want to do? If you don't know it's a monarch and you start tearing it down or you start spraying or poisoning it, you're reducing the monarch butterfly population. That's a choice you can make. But probably most people in this room don't want to make that choice. And so you need to understand what you're looking at. And that's squash bugs. Man, if there's something I hate, it's squash bugs. So which would you rather deal with? These eggs on the bottom of a leaf or these probably adult bugs really eating at your fruit? Well, of course you'd rather deal with the eggs, right? You can get all of those squash bugs and kill them right there with your thumb. So you just need to understand what you're looking at and what the life cycle is before you just start indiscriminately killing things. How do we identify things? The main thing is you've got to inspect your garden. You've got to inspect it before you have problems. And so this is tricky. Not all of us have a ton of time to go into your garden, but every time you go into your garden, you need to flip over your leaves. You need to do that, like I've got raised beds, you've got to do it at the end, you've got to do it in the middle, you've got to do it on the other side, do it on both sides of the boxes. You really need to be paying attention to your garden. It's not good enough just to look at it, from 6 feet away. You're not going to see it. You have to get up close to your plants. You have to look at the top and the middle and the bottom. You need to look at your soil. You need to look on the stems. You really need to be inspecting it. It's not particularly hard. You just have to keep after it. Let's see. I think we covered that. And then I think we have quite a few useful resources. One of the things that we have is we got copies of this field guide. And so quite a few things are in this field guide. Of course, you could get one, or you could ask us to borrow ours, or send us the bug, and we'll look at it. The other things we got, which were pretty cool, are just these little magnifying glasses. So you can just take this and go, I've got too many things in my hand. Well, of course, I can't get it to work. Can you get that to work? I just did it. Thank you. And so they've got little lights on them, yeah. And then you can just look, and they've got different magnifications on different ways. And that way you can just really get in there and look at the bottom of your plants or underneath your leaves and see, what are you looking at? Is that dirt or are those eggs? Rulers, coins, we definitely need stuff that gives us an accurate, I'll give those to you, thank you. An accurate size. If you just send me a picture of a bug, that doesn't help me a whole lot. I need to know how big it is. So you can either do a ruler, or you can do coins, you can do something like that. Google Lens is helpful. I already kind of plugged the Facebook page. And of course, you can call the extension office. They'll get you in touch with us, or they'll figure it out themselves. They have the same resources we do. Many insects look similar, so make sure that you're treating a pest and not a beneficial bug. To monitor pests, I think the easiest thing are sticky traps. I have pictures of sticky traps. I'm not recommending this product by any stretch. It's just something you can coat things with and it'll stick to it. But you can hang these up in your garden. They suggest that you date them because you can't really tell, how long has it been since you put it out there and how many bugs are there. And it's going to be important. If you leave something out there for a month versus a week, that collection is quite different. A hand lens with the light, and then you can put things in a collection container. Where to monitor. You definitely need to be, paying attention to your bug. You got to think like a bug. And so where's the water? Where's the food? Near the bug shelter. You can look for evidence. Sometimes you'll even see ants. They have a trail. And so you can just follow that along and put the traps there so you really can kind of figure out what you're dealing with. And then, of course, along edges and walls. Okay, now here's the thing. We're never going to have a zero pest garden. So then what we have to figure out is, is it hurting anything? What's the problem? If we see squash bugs, we really don't want squash bugs. If you see one squash bug, you could probably pick it off, or like one group of eggs or something. You could probably squish them and move along. They're not infested. So if you keep up with it, if you're constantly looking underneath your leaves, you can constantly be squishing those squash bugs, and it's never really going to become a problem. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to spray a bunch of poison. You've got a physical control on how to keep these things handled. And then as we talked about earlier, has the damage already been done? By the time you're seeing the bug, is it too late? Is the bug already done the damage it's going to do? Now, we need to figure out what kind of bug that is because we need to figure out its life cycle. How many generations are we going to have in one season? So we need to look at that. Is it hurting anything? Most crops can tolerate a certain amount of damage. It isn't just aesthetic damage, just making your garden look ugly. People have different tolerances for what they want their gardens to look like. But I would argue that aesthetic damage is probably not a good enough reason to start, spreading pesticides. Well, I got done much earlier than I thought, so we can go ahead and take a break if you want to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, y'all. I'm Crystal Usener. I am going to talk about integrated pest management, but I'm from this point going to call it IPM because I'm not going to keep saying that. It is a mouthful. Sorry. So IPM, integrated pest management, last time I'll say it, does require a knowledge of insects, plant, and control strategies. I mean, you don't want to just go in and just obliterate everything. It also doesn't mean zero pests, as Sarah said. We do have to consider there will be bugs in this world, in your garden. It also aims to prevent pest problems. We're trying to make an environment out in our gardens that prevent the pests we don't want. So a healthy garden generally keeps away the bad pests. It's not perfect science. It may take longer for the control to be noticed. It's not an overnight fix, unfortunately. You know, we do like things to be quick, but got to be patient. It also does utilize many control techniques, including cultural, mechanical, or physical, biological, and chemical control. Chemical control to me is your last resort because yes, chemicals, it does kill all bugs, many bugs, good bugs. Sarah kind of talked about monitoring. I also have a slide, sorry, but I have the little sticky straps as well. But we'll talk about it again just because it is important that you do go out there and monitor your garden so you know what's going on. There are many insect pests are small and they live in hidden locations. So yes, definitely lifting those leaves, checking out every spot. Monitoring needs to be thorough and happen on a regular basis. So, you know, daily if you can, or at least weekly. When thinking about pests, think about what type of insect it is and where it's located and what it's doing. And we already talked about the hand lens, the magnifiers, sticky traps, all that good stuff. So there's just more pictures. So I thought that one was cute. Bugs for bugs, the little hand lens thing. So cultural controls. These are modifications to normal plant care to reduce or avoid pest problems. So these things we can do in our garden to help avoid pest problems or control them. It's all about prevention of these pests, or at least to help prevent them. So site selection, when we are putting our plants in, it's a lot of times about, are we putting the plant in the right spot? Is it the right plant, right place? Like, are we putting, you know, a shade lover in the shade, or are we putting a sun lover in the sun? So that the plant itself will thrive and the pest will not thrive on it. So, you know, you need to look at the sunlight requirements, the watering requirements, the drainage requirements, and also grouping like plants like this together, you know, the coneflowers, for example. If you group things together, like in threes, is generally a good concept. That also helps keep things healthy and productive. And also in your garden as well, which of course right now is our concerns. Also, crop rotation. When you're doing your gardens, it's good to rotate the crops. Or, you know, if you don't have a giant, even in your raised beds, you need to rotate those crops. You don't want to do the same crops in the same raised beds because if you have a pest problem the year before, those pests will be in those raised beds. So you need to rotate those crops. You know, don't do the squash in the same spot. Move them. I personally had to learn that the hard way.
What is the number one? What is that thing?
That looks like a tempted grubworm, maybe. It's kind of a cartoon. A grubworm will become a June bug, or some people call them June bug. That's a common name, but it's those little beetles, the brown. But I think that's supposed to be a grubworm. It's kind of a cartoony. Crop rotation does reduce the pressure from pests and disease, and also prevents exhausting soils, obviously, if you rotate your crops, and it can help with weed control. So, soil preparation is also very important. Doing the work to the soil prior to planting provides what your plants need to grow. It also improves the drainage and adds nutrients. Also, if you tilling loosens the soil, which also gets out those, kills the overwintering pests. Because of course, you have a lot of pests that go in the soil, they winter, you know, they lay their eggs and whatnot, winter there. If you till that up, well, you just interrupted their cycle, their life cycle. So you took care of them before they became a pest. So that is very important as well. Plant selection, you know, that's very important. Just to buy a plant, make sure it's a healthy plant when you're at the store. You know, make sure you're not buying one that already looks sad or already has an infestation of aphids or whatever bugs you might see on there. Make sure it's in areas, for our growing area, obviously. It can reduce the chance of pest and disease if you do buy one that's good for our area. And then it also determines when you need to plant the planting time. Healthy plants, as I said, healthy plants help keep pests away. So, watering them improves the productivity of the plants. It also lets you know your soil and how it. Watering morning and to midday is best, obviously. Check soil moisture with finger or moisture meter. And hoses and drip irrigation is for watering, so that way you're not watering the foliage. Fertilization. Us keep our plants healthy and helping us keep those pests away. You can do fertilizers, compost, manure, whatever you find works best. It provides nutrients, and you need to work properly, of course. And then, of course, sanitation. Like when we go to our raised beds, or we're about to start our raised beds for the year, sanitation of those beds, get all the overgrowth, get it cut back, remove it. That's very important because things could be hiding. We could have eggs under there from the winter. You need to remove those, I know when I personally, you remove all that vegetation. There's all kinds of things you find, including, for me, black widows, which no thank you. Find all kinds of things. So getting all that thick vegetation out, reduce weeds. Sorry about that. So maybe already trying to get going. When you do sanitation, you want to wear gloves and turn those mulched areas and prune. And also when you're pruning, it's important, the pruning devices, the pruners, that you want to clean those with like a 10% bleach solution, because that way it'll prevent passing in diseases along to the next thing you're going to prune. If you are pruning something that's been disease-ridden or whatnot, it's important to sanitize your instruments that you use in the garden as well, because you could be transferring diseases or, who knows, eggs. You never know. So it's good. It's good. Your gardening tools as well. It's also very important because it allows airflow. If there's good airflow, it's hard for those pests to really get going, especially like with a squash. I've done a lot of reading. I haven't tried it yet with the go vertical with the squash plants. I don't know if anybody's ever tried it yet. Anybody done the vertical with squash? How's that gone? Because that seems to really help with the yeah. All the infestation, yes. Yeah. I'm going to try it next year. I already started my plants this year, and it'll be a little late to try that. but I've done a lot of, have a book about vertical gardening, and there's so many things you can go vertical, and I just need to stop being a wimp and person. So it does definitely help the airflow, and that will help keep those pests down because they like that dense, they like to hide, of course. If you don't have a lot of space, it helps with your space as well, being more productive. So another part of him is mechanical physical control. This is use of labor, materials, not pesticides, and machinery to reduce pests. It will kill pests directly. It keeps them from getting plants. So it's like altering the light, the humidity, the temperature. So some examples of this are using mulch. This helps, of course, prevent water loss via evaporation. It also reduces the growth of weeds, and it maintains your soil temperature so it keeps everything nice and healthy and moist. It prevents soil splashing, so you're not losing all your soil from around your plants. It also improves your soil structure around your plants, and also improves the movement of water into the soil. For infestation, I own 3 acres, old farmland, so I always have problems. There's no way to not have grasshopper problems. Covers are a physical block that you can put over if you have like raised beds, but you to do this before the pests show up, because you're kind of SOL. You can, I mean, these are like kind of a hoop house almost with some netting. I have PVC piping. I've kind of made a frame and just bought some cheap insect netting on and just I've had to control my little raised garden bed. It keeps, because I don't even know all the grasshopper. I probably have new species. They're all colors. They're red, pink. I mean, there's yeah. They're kind of a nuisance. Whatever. Go with the flow. Plant colors. These are great. You can use. This looks like an old water bottle maybe. You can use tin cups, you can use toilet paper rolls. These are great to prevent if you have a slug problem, which I don't know, we probably don't really have slugs out here because we're dry, but they help maybe cutworms, some of the ground pests in your gardens. This could help prevent some of those, get into your little seedlings that are trying to get going. So yeah, you can use like a coffee can. That will help. But yeah, we kind of are dry, so this may not be a slug, probably more slug. But if you have a ground pest, or snails, yeah. Or if you have snails, yeah. If you have a shade spot that, yeah. Well, if you have snails, that would help keep them from getting to your seedlings and chewing away their nice little, yeah, you can just recycle and repurpose. Now this takes dedication. Vacuuming and hand picking pests off here. It's just not a real large population of pests on your plants. So if you're out in your garden and you see a squash bug, you can hand pick it off. And this lady probably has a jar of rubbing alcohol, and she probably just throw them down in there to be done with it. You're not using pesticides. There's no way to not. You're hand picking, wearing gloves. You can dump wingless insects into a tray. The birds will eat them for you. Winged insects, you can throw them in that cut off. You can throw them in a bucket of hot water, or you can put them in a bucket of rubbing alcohol and then just dump them out somewhere. That way they're, controlled. Vacuuming, some people might be dedicated enough, they might have a vacuum dedicated to the garden, or you can just, if you have quite a few, you can literally just sit there and vacuum them off. Crazy, but it works. If you have a larger population, another option it's called a sheet pan method. You take a sheet pan, you put rubbing alcohol in it, or isopropyl. I hate saying that word, so I'm going to say rubbing alcohol. You put rubbing alcohol, and you put it down below the plant, and you just gently shake the stem of the infested plant, and when those creatures fall off into the alcohol, that kills them, and then that can larger population of pests on your, squash plant or whatever without using pesticides. And it's not they're hand picking a large population. So, but that's just called the sheet pan method. It's a fairly, not terrible. I always have a lot of rubbing alcohol. So. This high pressure water sprays, no pesticides are involved. It works best on small, soft-body insects like aphids. If you have an aphid infestation, this will blast them off, and there's not much they can do. It doesn't work with toppers. It'll blow them off, but those come right back. But it will knock off aphids, and they'll be done. It damages their exit and gets them off the host plant. It's an effective way. It could, depending on what you're blasting, it may affect the foliage of your plant, but it is a way to deal with some soft-bodied pests. Trap cropping, there's a lot of resources out there. I'm sorry I didn't put them up here, but you can plant a crop of lesser value to draw in pests to particular areas, so like a sacrifice crop. So in this example, there is the cash crop is broccoli, and the middle crop is the trap crop, and that's like just I believe it was a squash. I should have put what they were, but you can treat the trap crop with pesticides to kill the pest, and then the cash crop is left alone, and you're not treating so many things, pesticides. But there's a lot of resources out there. I apologize, I should have put the websites out there. But if you just look at trap cropping, it's a good way. If you have a pretty sizable vegetable garden, it's a way to get things away from your prize crops and then get the pests going to your, you don't care. We'll use garlic for that as well. Like they'll plant it around or near, or it's kind of like you see similar concept as the the corn, bean, and just so that way you're maximizing the pest away. Biological control. This is your friendly hunting bugs, using other organisms to control pests. Augmentation, that's where you purchase and release bugs. You actually do research and decide to do this. Conservation and classical importation. We're going to go over that a little bit more. My favorite in my yard is the praying mantis, and that is, when I see that I leave alone. But the trouble with those little guys, you never know when they've hatched because they don't really just open up. They kind of sneak out, so there's not really a hole when they come out. So I just leave them alone, never spray them off or anything, because you never know when they've actually hatched, generally. You can't tell, so. So with biological control, you can purchase and release, mass-produced natural enemies such as praying mantis, ladybugs, that kind of thing. It's more common in greenhouses, but you can do it in a garden setting. It may not be as effective, obviously, because it's wide open and they're going to just go wide open. But you definitely want to research before you just go and release. Obviously, you don't buy praying mantises they're not already in full adult stage. You buy the little eggs, sacks. That's how I personally have before. But here's some, yes.
We aphids in the greenhouse this past season when we were growing plants for the plant sale, so rather than use a lot of chemicals, we bought ladybugs, and I would come up here at night to release them, because you have to release ladybugs at night.
Right.
So it was really interesting. I was in the dark with the ladybugs to do their job, and I think they were pretty successful. It's little Fran's not here.
No.
Do you remember how many ladybugs? We had ladybugs that were just, you'd find them everywhere.
And then you'd find their little pupas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was cute.
I've never done ladybugs. I don't have a greenhouse at home, but I did buy some praying mantis eggs, and they gave you instructions on where to place them because they have to get so much heat and all that because they need the heat to hatch. You don't know when they hatch, but after several weeks, I started seeing lots of little teeny tiny praying mantis running around. So they eventually hatch, and hopefully they get big enough and they kill what I was hoping for.
How many in an egg sack?
The praying mantis?
Yeah.
I don't remember. It just varies. They're pretty sizable, and when they come out, they are microscopic. They like the whites of your nails, tiny. But these are some places you can purchase good bugs, or even our local nursery. Some of them have. Where did we get our ladybugs?
I bought a Garden World.
Okay, yeah, Garden World. Yeah, so I know the local nurseries. I'm trying to remember where I got my praying mantis. I got them offline. It may have been one of those. I can't remember. But these are some resources. But it's kind of. I personally just have an obsession with praying mantises. They're just the coolest insects in the world. They're just fierce, but it's if you have a greenhouse, ladybugs would be pretty cool. Definitely a good way to fight aphids, and yes. And okay, this is, I guess that's session 3 already, huh? Did I already go that fast? What time is it? We are going fast. Should I just go into chemical control? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What I have done in my garden is spiders, like wormweaver spiders, and I leave them.
Yeah.
Because they are great at getting all bugs.
Yes.
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 No, I leave spiders are definitely a good friend because they catch grasshoppers, they catch everything. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, but what if you want it to rain more?
What'd you want, if you wanted what?
You want it to rain. It rains.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one. No, I heard that one.
No, I haven't heard. Let's see. Yeah, let's, want to do a door yes, ma'am.
How about scorpions? How can you shoo them away?
Scorpions. I read an article, there's an article, a great resource is Texas A&M Extension, AgriLife Extension. There's actually an article about scorpions. There's not, I'm trying to remember, I didn't print it out, or did I? No. Shoot, I have it on my home computer. There's not a lot of products that are effective against scorpions. The best scorpions, they tend to like to hide in, they say to keep attics and whatnot clear. It's about cleaning to keep scorpions away. I'm trying to remember, I wish I had that article.
I know, I was looking too, and this is an aside, but I'm going to plug it. There's a podcast, I don't know how many of you podcast, but it's called Bugs by the Yard. And it's from Texas A&M AgriLife, and so the folks that taught our class do this podcast, and they have all kinds of, I mean, it's just a fun podcast to listen to, so if you're ever curious, I was looking to see if they had a podcast on scorpions, but I don't see anything, but that AgriLife Extension office it's an incredible resource. So if you'll just, they have a search bar, just put scorpions in, and are they in your garden?
No, they're in my patio. Well, they must be in my garden.
Right.
They're on my patio, the concrete, because I was watering my tomato plants, and my husband was doing some woodwork on the side, and he goes, "Oh, I think I just saw a scorpion," and it went under where he was cutting, so we lifted it, I squashed it.
Yeah.
They love to go around the border of my doors.
Oh yeah, they love.
Found two inside. I'm like, holy cow!
Yes.
Never had that happen before.
I wonder,
I mean, glue traps work great for them.
But you capture other things.
They do capture other things, but it will trap them. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you can just, if you just hand control, make sure that you have seals, so things can't, but they're going to come in if you open the door.
Yes, and they love to hang out.
Yeah.
And I kill them.
I want to say there was
I mean, I see it.
there's a natural oil that works for them. I wish I had that darn article. I'm so sorry.
Cinnamon and peppermint.
It might be, but if you go the AgriLife, the Texas A&M Extension AgriLife website, there is an article specifically about scorpions, and they tell you your options of how to help, like keep them away and control them. I apologize, I don't have the article, but there is an article. It's like a 2 or 3 page article specifically about it, and they give you the best, options. Because they're a hard one just because of their exoskeleton makeup. They're arthropod actually, or they're very similar to an arthropod.
Yeah,
they're almost in the crustacean. I mean, they're like right at the cuspous border. So they're a nuisance at my house as well. They're the scorpions. I mean, they're a predator. So bugs. So good. They're just a nuisance. They're just a nuisance to us, obviously, and they're creepy. Some people have them as pets, but But there is, yes, yes. But there is, there's an article. I have it saved on my desktop, but I don't have it on. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, not said because I was thinking I read it myself because because I'm tired of myself, but
That's an article for you to write for your...
yes, I'll be doing scorpions.
I just read glue traps.
Glue traps, yeah, I've done those in my house because I have a problem with them in our bathroom. All the waiting for me, so I'll put them behind the toilet and catch multiple scorpions, yes. I live in the country, so I have to expect friends. Yeah. But that's why it does catch those little suckers.
But it's outside. I have 2 big cobra, and I don't want to trap them.
The lizard. Yeah.
And the poor babies.
Yeah, the lizards would get stuck. Yeah, the lizards would get stuck to the glue traps. But I can't remember.
Yes, I can
Yeah, no, glue traps are great inside. Plus, if you happen to have roaches or anything else nasty like the it will trap them as well.
Everything comes inside.
Yeah, I mean, I like glue traps because it's a safe way to, it's a pesticide, but not, it's safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So does the pesticide for scorpions, does that kill the lizards also?
Pretty much, if you put, I mean, nothing kills one thing.
Right, okay.
So, that's certainly, I would think from our studies, what they've told, that's your last resort. Sometimes it comes to that, and there's certainly recommended different products that AgriLife will point you to. But ideally, if you can do these physical barriers, if you could do those kinds of mechanical controls, you're better off because your productive and beneficial insects will continue to thrive. So like nothing's just gonna kill that. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, there is a product for scorpions
There
only,
is.
supposedly, but I'm sure yes. Because if it's potent enough to kill a scorpion, then obviously,
Yeah, that exoskeleton.
yeah.
And of course, once you're talking about vegetable gardens, that's a whole nother subject, but yeah.
What makes this area so buggy? Because I lived in Florida and there are a lot more bugs here than there are. The dry.
The dry, the arid,
It's by the very
Wide open
amount.
spaces.
yeah,
Yeah,
the dry, arid.
I think so. They're well adapted here.
Yes, they thrive. I mean, I should have taken a video. I was driving down my driveway and there was like millions of, I don't even know what flying insects going across my driveway. I mean, it was just a swarm of black, just eyes. And it was just, yeah. It wasn't a mosquito. I don't know. Even my daughter who usually doesn't even talk to me, or she was like, oh my God. It was morning. I was taking her to school, and she was like, oh God. So it's bad. Yes, this area is a whole learning curve in general.
Missed part of it. Did you talk about using some of the essential oils like the peppermints or lavenders? Because I've heard you'll put it around the perimeter of your house, that will keep bugs out. Peppermint, and I don't know how long it will last.
That's the problem.
It's a short residual. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to do it probably every couple days.
Or even more. I mean,
Or every day.
oils just
Yeah.
go. I mean, if you had a temporary, I mean, I think it works. I think that those oils repel them.
It's just you just daily gotta,
Yeah.
probably daily, because it dries up so fast,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, it just disappears. I mean, you think about like when you grate a lemon, that oil, it just evaporates in a matter of days. So I think it'll work. It will repel them, but not for very long.
What about planting the physical plant?
Like garlic or onions just to repel them. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll work. It's just if you want that plant around there. But no, I think you can definitely repel certain insects with different plants.
One of the comments on the bee side is that doing the, applying the oils or whatever at night, so that it will dry up and not, because bees, honeybees in particular, are very, very beneficial to all gardens.
Right.
They're not going to eat the other bugs, but they're pollinating.
Pollinators, yes.
So you don't want to kill them.
Right.
You don't like yellow jackets, but those you want to kill, but they're also
Well, you can
pollinators.
tolerate yellow jackets if they're over there.
Yeah.
Like you can't
Yeah, your
tolerate
next
them
door
by your
neighbor.
front door, yeah. You can't have a black widow at your front door, but if they're out there,
That's like,
they should stay.
I have an infestation of mud daubers, but they're actually pollinators, so I just leave me alone, I'll leave y'all alone, but they,
Don't come inside.
yeah, well, I've had a few come inside, I'm like, why? But I have a huge population this year of mud daubers, which I normally have not, and I'm like, I don't quite understand why, I don't know if the wetness, I don't know.
It's been so dry here, and it's so, there's no humidity. All of those natural solutions, they just don't last as long here, I think, because the sun just degrades it so quickly.
Yes.
And then no humidity.
So,
So in fact, I meant to bring a bag of it and I forgot. There's food grade diatomaceous earth. So in my life, I've raised beds, and I have what do I have? 6, 8 of them, I guess. And every single corner of every single box has red ants in it. And I've just done everything I know to do. And so the Come and Get It is I think it's spinosad, those ant baits. That's approved for vegetable gardens, and so I've used that. And then I have tried the diatomaceous earth. Frankly, nothing has worked so far. And when I started them, I don't remember where I heard this, but coffee grounds, if you put them, I did that. That didn't work. I mean, nothing.
I'm doing right now.
What?
And then
Yeah, caffeinated ants.
they say boiling water on a mound.
I've
Have you tried that? Okay.
And so now what I do is I'm just mean to them. I just disrupt their mounds. So every time I'm in there, I just kind of do a hose and wish that they would leave. And then I'll put the diatomaceous earth on there. That's tricky because really what that's doing, it's like ground up seashells. I'm sure there's a better explanation.
Yeah.
And so it's scraping them. It's scraping their bodies, and that's they're dying. So soft body is going to work better for that. It's not really going to help your crickets or your grasshoppers.
No, grasshoppers, there's nothing.
And it blows away. And you have to be very careful and really with all of these, I think we'll talk about it, but all of these pesticides, we take them for granted because they're on the shelf, or like diatomaceous earth, it's not a poison. But boy, you shouldn't be breathing that stuff.
No.
You need to be in pants and with a mask on and eye coverings and stuff before you do it. Because if that diatomaceous earth gets in you, it'll scrape you up inside just like it's doing that bug. So I don't know. And maybe other less cultivated places, the diatomaceous earth would work better. I don't know. I have not had luck with it. Now they're just in the corners, so actually maybe I am having luck with it. Maybe it's keeping them there instead of inside. I don't know. I hate them. I hate them so much.
They're a nuisance.
What about boric acid and peanut butter?
I haven't tried
It
that.
works great for roaches. It works great for any crawling, eating insects.
So what they're going to tell us to say is, we don't make our own pesticides. So that's going to be frowned upon by extension. And I just don't know enough about boric acid to know.
Yeah.
Like, is that something? Is that safe?
I've seen it slow down the anthills. I haven't seen it completely eliminate any of them, but I had at another place used it where I put it out around. You mix the boric acid with the peanut butter, and you do it in a Ziploc so you're not breathing it.
Yeah.
You pour it in a Ziploc and you put the peanut butter in there and you mix it up. And then you scoop it out with a plastic spoon so you can toss it.
Well-
and put it, around those places. And the thing is, it's not dangerous to animals, but because
Boric acid's not dangerous to animals? Now, if you're not in a vegetable garden,
But the ants will take it down
To the
into
mound.
The mound, and I've seen it at first I thought it worked completely, and then it was probably a year and a half later that mound started to come back. So it did decimate it, but it didn't eliminate it.
well, and if you're not in a vegetable garden, if you're just in your yard, the Texas two steps. So you bait your yard, and then you drench your mounds. And if you keep up with it, if you continue to bait your yard when you're supposed to on the schedule, and then you just drench the big ones, it works. The ants move. You're not really, your neighbors are going to get them. So then they're going to have to bait and drench. But if you're in just a regular, it works. It's expensive to bait, that often. But it really does work. Those methods just aren't approved for vegetable gardens. So
Yeah.
I would be cautious. I'm not doing it in mine. Other people, might. But so anyway, so there are effective measures if you're not in a vegetable garden to get rid of those fire ants.
Were you saying bait?
Baits, like
It's where it's broadcast. You broadcast it your whole yard
And so you
twice a year.
can buy that for the yard.
Yeah, it's a yard. I was going to talk about that. Yeah, it's
sorry.
Well, no, it's fine. No,
Yeah.
no, it's the extensions. They call it the two-step process. It's the extensions. That's what they say is the best
It is
fire
the
ant
best.
control.
And baits
For your
aren't
yard,
gonna kill
yes.
it, but the ants will definitely eventually move.
Right.
I guess the mounds maybe eventually die, but
Yeah, you bait your yard twice a year, and then you just drench the mounds as they pop up as needed. But if you do it twice a year, it's supposed to,
And they like the baits better because they don't get into other things.
Yeah.
It's not gonna get in the water system. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's a safer option.
Safer, yeah, that's why they're recommended, yeah.
Yeah.
Fire ant control.
Yeah.
You were saying do that in the vegetable?
The vegetable.
Right, you can't do, yeah, it's not recommended for that, because since you're eating what's coming out of the vegetable garden.
There is a particular, I think it's called spinosad. I should have looked it up.
Yeah, I think I might have, yeah,
It's called Come and Get It.
let's, dun, dun, dun. No. That's inorganic.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. No, I guess
Yeah, I
I don't.
don't think it's in there.
Yeah,
It's
this
in
is
this
just,
blue bag, and it's just granules. And it's approved for vegetable gardens. But that's the only thing I'm aware of that's approved for in your vegetable gardens. And I still just put it in the corners. I mean, it's getting in the whole soil, but
To the
The name of the product that you're talking about is what?
the name of the name of the product I bought on the shelf is called Come and Get It.
Come and get it?
And it's in a light blue bag.
it's safe for vegetable gardens.
Supposed to be safe for vegetable gardens. That's what they tell me.
You will know in 20 years.
Right. Yeah, come back and see me in 20 years. I'll let you know. Yeah. But they're just granules, and you just sprinkle them on there, and then eventually they're supposed to take that to the queen, and it's not supposed to be dissolving in your soil and getting up in your vegetables. Now, like I said, it hasn't, maybe it's reduced my populations. They're not gone.
But,
What is that again?
Come and get it. Yep, that's it. Fertilome. Come and get it.
Fertilome.
Huh?
It is for the ants.
It's for ants, yeah.
in the garden, yeah, safe to use in the garden.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is them ants in your garden, are they fire ants or red ants?
Well, they're all the ants, but it's the red imported fire ants that make me mad.
Say bite and sting and hurt.
Yes, and you're in there and you're trying to get your stuff done, and I get very singularly focused.
You might try throwing an apple core down. I just kind of accidentally killed some the red ants one time on my job. There was a big red ant bed there about a cattle guard, and I had to get out every day to open the gate. So I was trying to be nice, and I was throwing apple core every day. And after about a week, I noticed it was all gone.
Were they the big ones or the little,
There's a
the
little
fire?
bigger red ants, but I might work for fire ants because their gather is just like that.
Huh.
I didn't know it at the time, but the seeds in the apple core got arsenic in them. I didn't realize.
So indirectly poison.
Yes,
Fire ants.
it might. Yeah, most ants, they can stay. I don't care. Like, they're good for us. We need them. They aerate this. But these stinking little fire ants that just bite us.
I've never actually thought about doing a fire ant just now.
Yeah,
That's worth a shot, yeah.
it is. Worth a shot.
I mean, it's an apple, it's a natural product, there you go.
Well, arsenic's natural. It'll kill you dead.
Interested in trees, because I'm losing pecan trees, and when the branches break, they just have holes in them, and it's like they're made by ants. is
Oh, wow.
what I can tell.
Well,
Carpenter ants?
I personally, I think you just gotta call an arborist to figure out what the problem is. You know, is the tree rotting and the ants invading, or are the ants causing the problem?
Yeah,
But they can inject your trees with certain pesticides that will fix it. We hung up lights, so I strung them from, just like an outside area, and so I strung them from the tree to the house. Well, then in our house, all of a sudden, we were getting kind of bigger ants, like carpenter ants. And so we called somebody, like, what do we do with this? And it turns out they were coming over on the stinking lights.
lights.
And you can just see them. There's just a highway we built for these things.
Thanks. Humans.
And so the guy said, well, you can do one of two things. You can take the lights down, or we can inject the trees and kill the ants. We'll just take the lights down. But, so I know there's ways to do it.
We'll take our highway down.
Yeah, I'll take the
I
highway.
don't know how that would impact the crop, or
The pecan, oh yeah, the pecans
the pecans, I don't know how it would impact the crop as far as.
being safe to,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't, that's a good question. I don't know. Steve might know.
I mean, they can get inside the middle of the tree and eat it from the interior, because my cousin had a huge oak tree in her front yard that all of a sudden it just toppled over and
Yeah.
landed on their house.
Oh,
And it
geez.
was hollow on the inside from ants.
Well, I think sometimes beetles get in there and they drill it for the ants.
And then they just have a,
Yeah,
instant
yeah.
highway.
Yeah, yeah, so yeah, that's probably,
And the tree didn't look like it was dead, it was blooming and everything, but man, it just,
Wow.
because it just needs that outside layer, yeah, exactly, that's tricky,
Yikes.
yeah.
That's
I'd
sad.
call an arborist at that point, I don't know,
The tree doctor.
Yeah.
Definitely.
yeah, definitely. Do you want to do a drawing? And then we can we have a few other topics to talk about, but now might be a good time for a drawing?
Drawing, and then I can go into chemical control. Trying to swish us out. We're going to talk a little bit about chemical control. This is, of course, to us, our last resort, because, yes, we're killing good bugs when we're doing chemical control. Of course, chemical control, you do want to protect yourself. I mean, you want to be wearing goggles, gloves, respirator. If you're doing something airborne, I mean, you want to be smart, because if it's killing, the bug you're killing, it could be harming you as well. This is using pesticides, natural or synthetic. Because, of course, out there are natural pesticides and they're synthetic. This is to control pest populations. Natural is naturally derived products used to manage pest populations, often have no residual, and therefore they may need several repetitions because they don't, but that's kind of, to us, a good thing if they don't have a long-term residual. But it's just, yes, finding that balance out there in your garden and your yard. Synthetic is man-made products used to manage pest populations, typically a more stable molecule, and therefore they last longer in the environment, which means they kill longer and kill your good bugs too, obviously, that you do like to have around. You want to use them wisely, pesticides. You want to choose a targeted pesticide if possible. Read and follow label instructions. Target the treatment area, and Texas is a site state, meaning it's, read the label, follow the label instructions. We can go out there and buy pesticides and use them ourselves, but, follow the instructions. I mean,
It's the law.
law, yes. Don't be, just spraying, spraying people, spraying. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
What is the name of the little sprayer that you had in the previous slide?
Oh, that's just, that was just an example of a product. That's, it's just I just pulled it's just a garden safe, I don't know. I just pulled an image.
Insecticidal soap.
Yeah, it's just an insecticidal soap. I just pulled an image. I mean, it's not one I'm saying yes, no. It's just
No, I know, but the more I know, the better.
Okay, yeah, it's just, it's something you can find anywhere. It's an insecticidal soap by Garden Safe. That's just a brand you find, yes, anywhere. So the different type of pesticides, and the first one is, this is your hard hitters. It's the insect growth regulators, IGRSs. These actually act on the hormones of the insects. They're very specific for the insects you're trying to kill. They keep the insect in the immature state where they don't go to the adult state. They're unable to molt successfully into the next stage and then therefore die. These are your, I won't even say those chemical names, but these are some hardcore. These are your very, very last resort to me because they kill a lot of things in your yard and in your garden. You don't even want to use these type things in your garden where you're eating from, obviously, but this, like around your house and yard, if you're desperate, this is what you would use, yes. Or if you just, you have an infestation that you're trying to deal with, obviously, yes, this is what you would use. They're most of them endoprene, methoprene. I'm not even personally familiar with most products. This Precor is one that I've seen out there but these are some really harsh chemicals. These are definitely ones you'd want to be fully protected when you use. These are probably what the pesticide companies use that kills everything when they come to your house. Now these are our friends we like, mosquito dunks. These are microbial-derived Bacillus thuringiensis, BTs. Yes, mouthful. These are different varieties for specific groups of insects. They must be ingested. So like these mosquito dunks, you put them in or whatnot, the mosquitoes actually ingest it, and then they start dying off. They don't have their larvae. Great product. About y'all, but I love them. I always have a thing of these in my garage shed.
We use these, we'll put them in our tubs of water in the greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And you can water safely with that water. So,
I throw them down in my rain barrels to make sure, yes. not, adding to the mosquito infestation.
Did you say you can put them in water and water your plants with them to get rid of the? Oh,
yeah.
They'll dissolve and it doesn't hurt the plant.
that's nice.
Well, I don't know if
They're pretty great.
in your yard, but mosquitoes get in my soil. And
Yep.
my
Yes, and they're bad this year.
Well, they can carry us away.
Small arms.
Yes.
I have been told that the other night they commented that our beekeeper, that you can put that into the water and it will not harm the bees.
Okay, that's good now.
That to be true.
It's a pretty natural product, so.
Bees need water also.
Right, and that's why in my garden I have rocks so the bees can land on the rock. And I have several spots for bees and pollinators. Definitely, yeah, 'cause they need water just like everybody else. But these products damage the gut lining and cause gut paralysis, so they can't, it stops them from feeding, so they're done. If they can't feed, they're done. So, but they're, a safe product for, obviously only for certain pests. Another is microbial-derived spinosauds. These products must be ingested, and these products are not, these are just, I just pulled images off the internet that were the type product we're talking about. These are from soil-borne organisms. These nervous system, which then kills, is selectively active on insects and specifically on foliage feeders. So some of your worms not. We have our contact horticultural oils. These smother insects. They are petroleum or veggie oil based. They will take care of soft body insects. And they are cytotoxicity, so they will kill some of your worms and caterpillars as well if you don't want them. This is insecticidal soap. They do sell that. It's a contact. You got to spray it on the leaves and whatnot. It penetrates insects' waxy covering and dissolves their cell membranes, so it works on soft insects.
What I have found about those kind of things,
Insecticidal soaps.
one spray does not work. It's like a multi-spray, probably a 7-day, and I think it's morning or evening.
Yeah, I think it's.
Not to spray in the heat of the day.
Well, no, because that'll actually then your leaves, your foliage, or kind of burns them.
Actually make contact with the bug, so if you're not
Catching the bug on them.
that time,
Yeah.
you've got to keep doing.
Oh, I've got a contradiction here. Is your traditional diatomaceous earth because it's actually made from fossilized diatoms which contain silicone, which, like Sarah was saying, diatomaceous earth, it literally cuts, it sits there and cuts them.
It's brutal.
This is, I've actually had this tried it. It doesn't first, but I've resorted to slow them down. It
Oh, it does help them?
down. That's yes, sir.
They recommend using this in a beehive. They got with soft beetles, and there's a little trap, and you put just a little tiny bit of this in the bottom of the trap. The beetles will climb into there, and it cuts their legs, and then that gets into their system through their legs,
Right.
and kills them.
Thanks.
Work on scorpions.
I think it is listed to help.
They're hard skeleton, that'd be hard. You really have to
Yeah.
make good contact.
Yeah.
They're constantly cleaning their exoskeleton, so they must be ingesting it, right?
Well, it doesn't, it's just a powder.
Oh,
It's a powder. Yeah. Yeah.
It cuts their feet.
But the problem with diatomaceous earth too is around insects, so.
They're keeping,
Yeah, so that's the problem. It's,
yeah.
And once it gets wet,
Once it gets wet, it doesn't.
yeah.
It's a very, like, on-the-spot thing. I spray it on there,
Sprinkle.
on there. Whatever it gets in contact with will probably stop. It may not even die, but it'll probably. I don't know if it'd,
How
yeah.
would that work on ants?
How would it?
Yeah, would it?
Well, if you put it in their mounds, or on the top of their mounds, you know, they're walking through it.
It doesn't go.
It'll get the workers on top, yeah.
Get the workers on top, then they die, right? Because they
Yeah, their legs, yeah.
I've had very little effect of diatomaceous earth with
Right.
plants.
Yeah.
I mean, I've coated.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have.
Yeah, like taking a bag and switch. Yeah, I feel you.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Answer there.
They're adaptable.
Yes, unfortunately.
The place I've seen the diatomaceous earth work the best is I bought a hydroponic system.
Oh, yeah.
And I dusted those plant leaves to get rid of the indoor, so it killed everything that crawled on them. So I didn't have problems. Like I was reading on a garden, that's the hydroponic garden website, or not website, but it was
Forum.
Facebook page, and everyone was saying, I have aphid problems, I have aphid problems. Well, they didn't want to get ladybugs in their house with
Yeah.
the aphids. Some people did. And I said, well, I enclosed the bottom tank in a trash bag so that they didn't have a water. And then I dusted all the plants with the diatomaceous earth because you're not watering them from the outside, so they're not, that dust stays. And I did it, you know, wearing a mask and everything, and you know, let it settle so I wasn't breathing it, and it got rid of them. So, yeah. Because there's no rain washing it away.
Right,
So
yeah.
the dust that you
Just
put
stays there.
just stays. Anything that continues happening.
To try to fly on
And
there.
boom, they're dead.
Right.
All of the little corpses and vacuum up with a little vacuum and then you're
But much more contained, yeah. These are pesticides that are naturally derived, botanical, like a neem oil. It's an these words, azadirachtin. It's a feeding deterrent. Has repellent property, some sensitivity. Its oil formulation was degraded by sunlight. Put it, obviously, harsh sun, degrade it real fast. Acidity, meaning it's not bad for like your dog's pets. It's low residual, so it doesn't last very long. But I mean, some people have some put like in the garden with it to try to control. One is lemon. It's citrus, so it's obviously. I swear it's that scorpion. I said something about citrus oil being helpful, or at least deterring them, not killing them, but deterring them. But if you look up for the article, I swear citrus oil was one of them. I was surprised by that. But it is a content literally from, there's different products out there. I'm not saying to buy this, but there was one, it's made from orange oil. If anybody's ever used an orange oil product, I'm kind of curious now, see what it might help deter that I don't want around. Yeah, orange pills, yeah. So, but those are natural products, so obviously, yes, they're less. Another botanical is pyrethine, pyrethrum. It's made from a daisy-like flower, so it's actually made from a natural flower-like. It's continuous nerve stimulation. It immediately knocks down the insect. Often, unfortunately, the insect often metabolizes this product and recovers, so it's kind of obviously a very short residual. I've never really used this product. It's not harmful to animals, irritating skin and eyes, so for us we need to be careful using it. But another natural product out there, I don't know if anybody's had any used a product but I mean, it's something maybe worth trying. And we already kind of talked about this. This is just the extension offices or extension departments, the two-step method for fire ant control. Since fire ants are a problem, is broadcasting of fire ant bait once or twice a year to reduce fire ant colonies by 80 to 90%, and then treat nuisance mounds such as you need to, but like this is their go-to about fire ants. It is kind of expensive, but I mean, if you really have an ant problem, this is how to get them under control, is doing that two-step method.
Crystal, why do we see more of them after a rain? Seems to be like
After rain, I mean, they're coming up, I feel like they're coming up out of the ground, they're getting washed. Yes?
I think some of that might be because when it does rain, they have an instinct they kind of mound together to float away. So
Their instincts kicking in.
It's down into the mound. You've got like one mound now has got like all these little floaters, and now all of a sudden you've got 10 more mounds started.
a horror movie. That's just what I was.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen them, much more prevalent after the rain or something.
Yeah.
I think the soil's softer, it's easier to work. I mean,
So repeat your steps again on the two-step method.
So step one is broadcast a fire ant bait once or twice a year to reduce fire ant colonies by 80-90%. So once or twice, probably around here twice a year, honestly. And then step two is treat nuisance and mounds such as colonies that move in the bait treated area. So that's, doing mound treatments. But if you do the step one, theoretically step two may not be needed. I personally have not tried this because I have, like I said, 30 acres. Plus I have red ants, but I have horned lizards, so I don't want to, I'm trying not to mess up the ecosystem for the horned lizards too bad. So I just treat the mounds of fire ants.
You're saying how,
So-
do it, what do you spray? What's the chemical or whatever
On the
for the fire ants?
for the colonies, for the treating the nuisance colonies, or the,
For the broadcast? Well, for both, actually.
well, I think they make some recommendations on their website. I didn't put that in here.
yeah, they're just kind of fire ant baits.
Baits, yeah, that are meant for lawn broadcast. I mean,
Just take a cup of it and dump it down the hole. That's what I do.
This is like, kind of like a fertilizer, like you put it over everything.
Yeah, I do the yard, but if I have one that pops up, I just take like a half a cup of that stuff and I just dump it right straight in the top of the.
okay, yeah,
And usually they disappear.
right.
It might take a day or two.
Yeah, they're not instant, for sure.
No.
If you can coordinate your efforts with your neighbors.
Right.
That's more effective, yeah,
That's your biggest.
yeah.
Impact other insects?
I mean,
Not
they're not
supposed
supposed,
to theoretically.
I mean, it's,
That's why they've,
Don't bother the earwigs I have.
yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be just to
To
those
fire ants.
and they have to eat it, and they have to take it to the queen or whatever they're doing. Supposed to be a very safe option.
So it seems like it would dissolve though in the rain, so that's what I was, if you broadcast it twice a year, it seems like it would dissolve in the rain, so I guess I'm trying to figure out.
timing.
Yeah, you want to put it down. just-
I think they all move out. Like, I think you bait them, they move out, and then when you see one pop up, you're just supposed to treat that one with a more aggressive measure. And then you reapply it after, I assume because of the rain and the other reasons that the bait will leave your property. I don't really know, but that's what I'm guessing.
Okay. I'm trying to prevent potential fireflies, 'cause
Oh, right.
how long are they in the ground before they ever come out? So I'm trying not to poison the yard because of those.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I don't know, all we can do is, read the label and, either you trust it or you don't trust it, and maybe you don't. And it depends which one, everything is a balance. How much do you hate the fire ants, or how much are they in your way? Do you have kids playing in your backyard? Do you, versus the fireflies? Everything is just, you're just trying to strike a balance.
So we're going to just have much here, really. So the miscellaneous topics, a lot of it we've already talked about. And really, all I was going to know was the beneficial insects, which we've I think, covered. But my thing is that the beneficial insects, like even the really, really great ones, they scare the bejesus out of me when you just see them in a garden somewhere. And so my first instinct is always to swat them away, and so I have to really be careful not to do that. Even the scary bugs can be good bugs. And then I already said that about 5% of insects cause damage to our plants. So it's really not a high number. You can presume that the bug's probably doing something good. And the beneficial bugs live among, or insects, live among the pests, right? I mean, your ladybugs live among your aphids because that's their food source. And so if you just start using drastic measures to kill the aphids, you're going to kill the ladybugs too, which means you've just absolutely ensured you will have the same problem the next time you plant something. And so you just have to kind of be careful. Somebody used to say, I don't remember who, maybe it was, anyway, that if you kill the beneficial insect, that's fine, but you now have to take over its job. Otherwise, it's just going to run rampant. And of course, why are they beneficial? Because they pollinate for us and they eat the pests in our gardens. And so some obvious examples of beneficial insects, bees, ladybugs, dragonflies, but then spiders. Like we've already talked about this. They trap things. They're really, unless a spider is in your way, obviously you leave a mosquito hanging outside your front door. We've got to do something about that. But I had an orb weaver outside of my front door for a while. The construction guys didn't like it at all. But I'm like, it's not going to hurt you. It's fine. Just don't mess with it, But it was a big bug, and I just have a tolerance for that. I'm not suggesting you have to. But I am suggesting that if you see a spider outside somewhere and it's not hurting anybody, leave it alone. It's doing good for us. The assassin bug is probably the one that I'm just like, what? But this is a great bug to have. It injects venom into their prey, and their prey are all things we don't want, the hornworms, the squash bugs, and the aphids. But to me, that's a scary looking bug. Yes?
The one thing about the assassin bug, the nymph stage looks very similar to leaf-footed bugs.
Yes.
And so assassin bugs are solitary critters, so if you see multiples, they're probably leaf-footed bugs.
That's a good tip. And they're just hard to tell. Because they live, the predators and the pests and the beneficial bugs, they live in the same place. A lot of times they have similarities to pests. So you really have to make sure you have what you think you have.
Are they pretty ubiquitous? Are they all over the place? Or is that something you would order like ladybugs at a store?
I don't think I've ever seen an order for assassin bugs. I think they're just there. Yeah, you're just trying not to kill them. A praying mantis we've already talked about, and really I kind of think, I've been doing this long enough now that I sort of think it's cute. Yeah. I didn't used to think.
They're deadly to hummingbirds.
There are some,
Yeah.
Really?
Everything's about hummingbirds. I don't know if they'd be in contact with them very much.
Stay on the feeder, and then they'll jump off and get them.
Also bees.
Mine behave, they don't do that.
Yeah, I've never had one on my hummingbird feeder.
I would relocate mine.
But they're good. They're good for your vegetable gardens. They eat dozens of pests.
Sarah, I have a question. This is probably dumb.
No.
I know the difference in a praying mantis and what a walking stick looks like, but is a walking stick something that's helpful, not? They scared me to death. Because you can't tell them.
They're not beneficial, but they just exist.
Yeah, I don't think they're pests or... I don't think they're good or bad.
They just exist.
Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah.
They're interesting to watch.
I wouldn't kill it necessarily, but I don't know that it's...
Because remember the one lady did talk about them, and she's like, even if you had a swarm of them, supposedly, they wouldn't eat enough leaves off your tree to even matter. Like, they're just, even if you had a infestation, quote unquote, they would not eat your tree to the nub. So, or whatever they're on eating. They're they're slow
And
and,
they're not kin to the,
no, they're in a different family if I remember correct.
I think that's right.
interesting.
So, I know that there's a difference between the ladybug and the Japanese beetle. Do we
Right.
have the Japanese beetles here?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Japanese beetles are the mean biting little, they're not
They look
good.
just like them, but they're orange.
Orange, yeah.
And they're not beneficial in the sense of.
I don't see them much at my house, but they eat what?
They eat rose leaves and anything else.
Huh.
The smaller white grubs in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
just squish them and go on. They're easy to kill. What did you say?
Like grubs?
Oh, okay. If you
They're small
kill the
white
grubs,
grubs.
you won't have the beetles. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of those. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. I just know they will bite you if they land on you. They can be little biters.
I hate biting bugs. Yeah, bite something else. So we're going to encourage you to use these. Hopefully you found some of the Integrated Pest Solutions helpful. I mean, it's a little bit more work, but I think you'll have an overall more productive garden because of it, and you'll have a more productive garden year after year because you've got the right balance of bugs and insects in your garden. So let's see, what else do I have? Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can you have spiders on your tomato plants? Because I always see like little webs and little.
You can.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Aphids.
I leave them alone.
Yeah, I leave them alone. They're eating that.
Yeah.
They'll catch grasshoppers. They're trying to eat your.
And they'll worms, and yeah, I leave.
Nice after years of killing them.
Oh yeah, I definitely. I mean, when in doubt, well, I would leave the spiders in the tomatoes. I would.
I thought they were.
I'll talk about I'm not sure it fits into this conversation, but the earthworms, the ones, the hammerheads that we're supposed to do.
Oh, report.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well,
The hammerhead.
the hammerhead. So like earthworms. I mean, we learned a lot about earthworms, and I was shocked at all of it. I don't think any of our earthworms are actually native to our area. They were all imported,
They're all
which kind of shocked me.
theoretically.
And then they're all like a hammerhead. I think that is what they're called. Like and
That's the one that they're telling people to report if you find it.
So-
Put it in salt.
well, so normally earthworms, we consider them good. You know, they're aerating our soil, they're adding benefits through the chain of life, you know. But these particular worms, the problem with them is they are stripping the soil. So they are absolutely exhausting every resource out of that soil. And so if you have them, your beds are not going to be productive. They're not going to be plantable after too long. And so there is for sure at least one website where if you see them, you are supposed to report them because they really want to get a handle on these hammerhead earthworms, I think is what, I don't remember if is that what they're called for sure?
I don't know.
Or is it the jumping worms? There's jumping
Yeah, okay. So you basically just kind of need to sort of look at your earthworms.
bad in the Dallas Metroplex. I don't know if they've gotten out.
I've never
here per
seen
se,
one.
But there's something, it's, yeah.
Yeah, so don't assume all earthworms are good, I think is the gist of it. If you see a funky looking, yeah,
Maybe,
yeah.
call the extension office.
Call the extension office, yeah.
Yeah, they're saying if you try to cut them in half, that they just reproduce.
They do. All of those do. And really what I think Extension would prefer is if you do see one to catch it, so we can absolutely identify that's what it is, because I think you're right. I don't think they've been reported in our area yet. And so we would want to know. Now that doesn't mean they're not here. We just don't have enough scientists to look. Any other questions or things? Yes.
Tomato hornworm.
Yes.
So in my garden, and I didn't have my tomatoes at this point, but I found what looked to be a tomato hornworm while I grew my chickens. And then I found another one and decided to identify it because, of course, it's not tomatoes, was not peppers.
Right.
It came up being a sphinx moth.
Okay.
Yeah, so when and if you want sphinx moth, whatever.
Have at it, yeah.
But there's other worms or caterpillars that look like tomato hornworms that are not necessarily tomato hornworms. So make sure you're identifying before you throw them off your chickens.
And that's just, yeah, I could be a broken record. Like, that is absolutely right. Bugs resemble each other. I mean, it's really important that you know what you have. And really, there's a ton of resources. It's easy to figure it out. If you can catch it or photograph it, or, you know, put it on Facebook, we'll help you. Call Extension will help you. We've got entomologists with PhDs that will help us. Yeah, I mean, and they are very oddly excited about bugs. I mean, the things they think are so cute, I'm just like, that's disgusting.
Some of them maybe want to go back to school.
They did. They're passionate. They're passionate. Yes?
Another point on the horned worms, you were talking about good bugs, bad bugs.
Yeah.
On a horned worm, if you see these little white rice kernels on its back, that's the parasitic wasp laying its eggs on. So that caterpillar is dead. It just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
So I just leave them alone because the beneficial bugs will hatch.
Yeah. Parasitic wasps are beneficial bugs. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's just gross. It's just gross. But you have to, yeah, I mean, it's nature. It's not us. So for sure. For sure. Yes, ma'am.
Hill gloves, roly-poly, are they good or bad?
Well, I would say they're mostly good. I mean, they're decomposers. They're, you know, they're in the soil. They're aerating things. I mean,
They eat your plants.
They eat your plants?
That's what I've heard.
We should only be eating good stuff.
Yeah, I don't. John.
Heavy infestations can be not quite so helpful because they'll start getting on like seedlings and stuff. But usually they aren't too bad.
Yeah, I've got a lot of them this year, you know, because it's been so wet.
Clean the minerals, the unwanted minerals out of the soil, that they are beneficial, and that is for purpose. So not to squash.
Yeah, I wouldn't squash them. I wouldn't. Yeah.
Just move them.
Yeah. Just roll them up, roll them out the however you want. Yes, ma'am. Nothing? Okay. Anybody else have a question? Who here has a garden this year? Has everybody? Yeah? Yeah. Keep doing the rain dance. It's so, to me, it's so satisfying after the last couple of years we've had to have these beautiful plants. Anyway, I'm very, very pleased. And how many people in here are not master gardeners? There's quite a few, right? Not master gardeners. So, I mean, I would encourage you to look into it. It's a fun group. We're from all over. We're not just from Abilene. We have all kinds of resources and all kinds of, I mean, it's just generally fun.
Is it once a year program?
The training, yeah. The internship training, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, look for it. They usually come out, the applications will come out in like January, and then the training will start up, and it's a kick. Yeah. Yeah. All right, anything else? And then, I put our website again. I put the Master Gardener Facebook page, just like it. You know, you don't have to really do anything with it. And then thank you for coming today. That's all I have. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have more drawings? Oh, yes, John.
Just want to remind everybody, we do have a YouTube channel, Big Country Master Gardeners. We
You put that on there.
have a lot of the videos from all of our seminars on there.
And there's one for trap plants, right?
There is one for Integrated Pest Management, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's all kinds of resources that are just free, and we're always a phone call or a Facebook post away. So.
What you should have done is take photos of the good and the bad bugs.
Yes.
I had some of them. That's a good bug. That's a good bug.
I mean, and then identify it.
Yeah, but the thing is it's sort of like John said. I mean, I could show you pictures, but that's not going to help you really identify them.
Since I don't know anything about them in the first place, it would be a lot of help.
Well, but they look so similar that unless you really get down there with your magnifying glass and look, it's pretty tricky.
And there's an awesome book out. It's actually called Good Bug, Bad Bug.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of information.
There's a lot of there's just a lot of information out there if you start looking. Okay, I think we have some drawings.